Hello, everyone. I'm Naveen. I'm from Identity Access Management professional with 21 years of experience in this space. And today I'm going to talk about the enterprise identity transformation roadmap. So let's get started. So today's agenda, we'll be talking about building your IAM roadmap. And the main agenda topics would be the IAM challenges, understanding the main problem landscape, zero trust architecture, moving from a perimeter to identity first, and also the AI driven identity security, which is the real time threat detection and automation. And the next would be the compliance and SIM auditing, governance, and regulatory alignment, which is really key. And also, we will be talking about the technology and implementation, what tools we'll be using, and what is the tool stack, and although the phased rollout approach as well. And the last one, and also the key one, what we will be talking about is the team upskilling and roadmap approach. So that one we'll be talking about how the future ready resource and the long-term vision of the organization will be. Okay, let's jump back into the IAM challenges, what we have in 2026. The first one will be the visibility gaps, what we're talking about here. 1 in 3 organization lack basic visibility into the identity and access environment. When you cannot see what's happening, you cannot defend against it, right? So the cloud migration, the identity shadow, and the multi-cloud sprawl have fragmented identity oversight across dozens of disconnected systems there. And the next would be the tech debt from the research. What we have identified is around 54% of the enterprise cite that the legacy systems are the modernization roadblock for them. So this monolithic systems were designed on-prem and centralized architecture and not a cloud native at times, and also distributed across different multiple environment. And the cost of maintaining the legacy IAM often exceeds the cost of modernization. So that's one thing, one key area what the technological debt is happening there. And the next would be the complexity. Around 60% of the organizations struggle with multi-cloud IAM complexity in the current hybrid environment. Maintaining consistent policy, identity synchronization, and access control across different AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and on-premises creates operational challenges there. And next would be the talent gap, as I mentioned, which is one of the key challenges in 2026 and also in coming year, shortage of skilled identity security professional. The identity security professional faces a 50% plus skill gap. Partners reports that organization cannot find enough resources to manage their identity and implement and operate modern IAM solution across their global organizations. And now we'll be talking about the core problems and the root cause. So basically, it is like two different issues. One is the technical issues, which we are talking about the identity sprawl, orphan account, access creep, and scattered tools. So from the technical issues, what we find is we have thousands of forgotten accounts across the systems, and also the orphan accounts, users who have left the organization but not retained the access. And also the next would be the privilege access creep, where users accumulating unnecessary permissions over time. Coming to the tools fragmentations, we are almost 20 to 30 plus disconnected identity and access management tools with no orchestration available there. And the next, the core problems, what we are seeing is the operational issues, where you will have the manual process, the slow provisioning, compliance gaps, audit blind spots. So let me talk about the manual process there. Manual provisioning and deprovisioning is really impacting the operational issues, and we're not stepping up with the efficiency in our operation on a day-to-day activities. And also the slow provisioning. Sometimes the access provisioning takes place really slow, which takes almost a month for a new app to be fully onboarded and to be productive. And also the next key area is the compliance gaps there. So basically the access review conducted annually instead of continuously, that's one of the issues what we can identify. And also the audit blind spots, which is really key for any of the organization to sustain in this critical business areas. And next is this topic is really important to everyone, which is the newest way of security. It is called the zero trust, the new perimeter actually. So never trust, always verify. So that's the continuous identity validation across all access points. So we need to verify every user and devices before granting them the access. So we need to enforce principle of the least privilege dynamically, continuous monitoring and adaptive risk assessment. So we need to ensure that we are continuously monitoring and also we adapt to the risk assessment on a regular basis. And also the seamless hybrid multi-cloud support, consistent policy everywhere. So that's one of the other key areas which we need to keep in mind. Let's talk about the core IAM solutions. So we have the five pillars of modern IAM management. So one we call is the identity orchestration, unified access, hybrid environment, privilege access. And so basically what we're talking about is the unified management of identity across hybrid and multi-cloud environment. This means the single provisioning processes, consistent policies and enforcement, and real-time synchronization across multiple cloud-based platforms. And the next is the PAM, what we call is the privilege access management, control and monitor administrative access there. And every privilege session is recorded, session isolated, prevents lateral movement, and also behavior analysis and defects misuse. And the next key thing is the adaptive authentication, which is the risk-based multi-factor authentication and context-aware decisions. So move beyond the static, the multi-factor authentication, which is the risk-based, triggers stronger authentication process, and context-aware decisions mean legitimate users face minimal friction while the attackers are trying to attack them. And the next key and the last line item here is the identity fabric, which is the real-time insights and orchestrated policies. So this is really key, and this is a new thing what's happening in the IAM space. So real-time insights into the identity and access management across the enterprise with orchestrated policy that automatically adjust based on threat intelligence and compliance requirement. This is identity as a service, which is the new framework which we are seeing in recent IAM world. And the next is, and really the hot topic everyone is talking about, is the AI and the machine learning in IAM. So this is really key for each and every organizations and also all the systems there. So let's deep dive into the aspects in the AI and the machine learning in IAM space. So the first is the behavioral analytics, which detects anomalies and insider threat in real time. So we have many AI tool which can do this work, which can detect anomalies and inside threats in real time. And automated role mining, enforce least privilege with AI recommendations. So this is learn normal access platform, flag anomalies in real time, which is the first behavioral analytics. But also we need to ensure that we automate the role mining and utilize the AI power to get the recommendation and start implementing that. And next would be the adaptive authentication, trigger MFA based on risk content. So as and when we see a risk in any of our environment, any of the applications, so the adaptive authentication, which triggers the multi-factor authentication as and when it is needed based on the risk, what's happening in the systems or in the platforms. That's also one of the key things. And the lifecycle automation. So we need to ensure that we are more focused on the AI-driven provisioning and deprovisioning process there. So that's one of the lifecycle automations what we need to think about. And we do have a lot of processes and tools which does that for us. And we need to mainly focus on implementing those kind of tools in our environment. And the next is the threat detection. So we need to identify compromised identity instantaneously. That is, like, we need to identify compromised accounts before the attackers can move literally into our network. And next would be the compliance and audit framework. So this is one of the key things, the SIEM and IAM integration for complete visibility. So the real-time threat detection and automated incident response, that's one thing. And the quarterly identity hygienic audit of an accounts. So we need to build a process inside our identity organization wherein we build a quarterly review process for the orphan accounts. And we need to be able to generate a report and work on that specific report and ensure that we have a control in place for the orphan accounts, and which might be vulnerable to the environment, to the systems as well. And also the next part would be the audit logs for the GDPR, IPA and NIST compliance. So we have a lot of key compliance requirement what we need to follow. So we need to ensure that this framework falls under those compliance requirement. And the next is the access control reports and forensic analysis. So this is the really key important thing what in each and every organization has to take control of it. And we need to ensure that the tool delivers the access control reports and the forensic analysis at times as and when needed from the audit perspective as well. So let's talk about the emerging IAM technologies in the current world. So identity threat detection and response, which is key, which is the AI-powered detection of lateral movement, privilege escalation, and credential misuse. So this one is really key to any of the organization, as and when the ITDR focuses on identity attack surface, while PAM focuses on privilege access management. And the next would be the machine identity governance, which is the NHI, what we call is the non-human identities. And we need to have a process to manage the non-human identities, which is might be API accounts, which might be bots, which might be system and the batch account. So we need to build a process around the lifecycle management of non-human identities, which falls under the emerging IAM technologies. And let's talk about the implementation strategy here, SIM and IAM integration for complete visibility. We should have at least 1 to 4 phases for implementation. So the identity visibility and current state assessment. So we need to ensure that we conduct identity inventory, map all accounts, systems, and access path, and identify orphan accounts, privilege creep, and compliance gaps. Create current state architecture diagram, set a baseline KPIs for them. And the next is modernization of legacy system, adapt cloud IAM solution. So modernization, we would need at least 4 to 12 months to modernize any of the IAM solution. So we place legacy identity systems with cloud native platform, implement central identity platform, like we have multiple vendor product, Okta, Azure AD, Ping Identity, to name a few, and also integrate with the cloud providers. And the quick wins would be the auto deprovisioning, MFA rollout in this space. And the phase three is the implement the zero trust policies of the PAM. Zero trust implementation usually takes 12 to 24 months based on the research. But deploying PAM solutions for privilege accessment implement zero trust policies based on the policies like the NIST and the CISA framework, and also continuous access control based on the context real-time risk assessment. And the last phase would be the enable AI and machine learning for adaptive governance and ITD. So that one usually takes 24 months plus. And also we need to ensure that we have all the predictive threat intelligence integrations also built into that. And ITDR is the identity threat detection and response platform, which is really key for the AI and ML adaptive work what we do. And let's talk about the modern IAM technology stack. When I say stack, it's basically like we have multiple cloud vendor products which can do the IAM implementation and provide a better lifecycle management into the identity access management. So to name a few, like we have the central identity platform, which is Okta, Azure AD, Ping Identity, and Keylock. And we have the PAM solutions, which is the privilege access management, where we have the leaders like CyberArk, Beyond Trust, and Delinea. And also the SIM integrations for all the auditing and other work. We have the Splunk, Elastic, and Azure Sentinel, and even the Datadog. And the ITDR platform, Envil and Deception Tech, which is one of the leaders in this space. We should try to utilize and manage using them. And also the last but not the least, the AI powered access governance, which is the sales point and the Entra ID, which most of the organization are leaning towards it, are the great modern IAM technology stack, which we should be thinking of. And the next part is really the key for any of the IAM space, upskilling your IAM team. So we need to ensure that we build a future resource who are ready to manage the IAM world there. So based on that, so we have the core competencies and also the training path. So coming to the core competencies, so we have the zero trust trainings and the cloud architecture, the privilege access management, Python or automation of scripting, and also the training path. So we need to ensure that we build the resources for the future IAM world with the cloud certification, SIM training, AI and machine learning basics, and vendor specific tracks. And let's talk about the 5-year strategic roadmap for implementing all this framework, what and all we have discussed here. So year, I have just segregated into 3 sections. From the year 1 to 2, we need to modernize the tools what we use. And from year 2 to 3, we need to optimize what we have implemented in our environment. And from the year 3 to 5, we need to ensure that we innovate things to the up the ladder. And also, we need to ensure that we will eliminate the tech debt and the legacy identity silos, what we have currently in our mindset, and also achieve zero trust maturity across enterprise on multiple domains. And also, we need to ensure that we deploy AI-driven ITDR for proactive threat responses as well. And also, we need to ensure that we keep really establish a CIDO role for strategic governance, which is the chief information and the digital officer there. And matured organizations are establishing the CIDO role to lead this transformation in their environment. As I mentioned, so we should have a strategic governance, technology, and people and operations. So all these key people will be able to have a better strategic roadmap for the IAM transformation. And let's talk about the best practice of IAM excellence here. And basically, what the best practices talks about is the conduct quarterly identity hygiene audits, which is like detect orphan accounts and detect the disabled accounts or inactivity accounts and everything. And also enforce principle of least privilege through AI role mining. And also, as we spoke about that earlier, integrate IAM with SIM for real-time threat response and try to get the most benefits out of it. And also automate provisioning and deprovisioning workflows, which will improve the efficiency, and also the new apps will be productive on the first day. Tag assets with business context for dynamic policies. Okay, yeah, let's talk about the KPI and the success matrix there. So, which is really key in reduction in mean time remediate for identity threats, and decrease in privilege account misuse incidents, compliance audit pass rate, and remediation time. Automate rate, provisioning, deprovisioning, access reviews, and also visibility, the percentage of access points monitored and logged. So all this is really key for any of the success metrics to reflect to the IAM management, and we can showcase how we have been performing in this area. And let's talk about the key risk areas and mitigation. So proactive defense against evolving threat. So this is one of the key things. So the account takeovers and the credential staffing. So that leads towards the adaptive MFA and behavioral analytics there. And also the key important area what we need to focus is the insider threat, AI-driven behavior detection, and the PAM. PAM is privilege access management, and also the compliance violation and the lateral movement, which is the zero trust plus ITD, identity threat detection there. And government structure and CEDO role, as I mentioned earlier, the CEDO role are becoming leading identity strategies across different organizations now. And the cross-functional team, security, cloud, and operation compliance, and identity governance committee for the policy oversight, and also continuous feedback loops with the business unit. That is also a really good investment in tooling, training, and talent development. With this, we come to the end of the presentation, and I hope you have enjoyed the details what I've shared with this transformation journey. Have a good day.